Zero can't become a crusade, and he is the leveling up secretary for. He warns against net zero religious crusade, which is interesting because I think it is a religious crusade, and the leveling up secretary. And leveling up is one of the great ministries of state, historic leveling up. They had that in the 1700s. The foreign secretary, the chancellor, the exchequer, and the leveling up secretary. But it says he's for relaxation of green measures. Number one is the basic fact is this ULEZ thing, which is basically they don't want us to drive anymore. They want to take away our driving, and it will kill the countryside, let alone a lot of people in the city. In my borough, 40% of the households have cars.
Well, yeah, they're going to make energy and everything much more expensive. I mean, because net zero is fine if you're some metropolitan, rich Labour voter, and you can afford. You don't mind paying a bit more for some avocado that's actually grown under your house or whatever. Actually, avocado is a bad example because they're all flown in from Mexico. But you don't mind paying a bit more if you're rich. If you're poor and you're already struggling, we sort of forget that a few generations ago things like protein, eggs, cheese, chicken, these were things that were really sort of luxury items.
Yeah. And so you are right about that. And it starts out with £12.50 to get into London to drive the car. And then it'll go up to 15, 20. And meanwhile, people are going to be bankrupted. And
I think there's a slight difference, just to try and get some wedge in here, some pushback. There's surveys I saw recently saying on the issue of doing something about climate change, you still get like 80% of people in favour. But on the issue of paying to drive, you're going to get like no people in favour. And this is what ULEZ is, isn't it? It's seen as tax to drive.
Well, that same poll said, are you worried about climate change? And it was like 80% of people were concerned, not worried, but concerned about climate change. Mostly because they're just bombarded day in, day out with these fear-mongering messages. But on the issue of, do you want to be taxed more and give the government more powers to do something about it, they were like, no. Because that's the thing. I mean, I'm not denying climate change is real. I'm denying that giving the government lots of my money and lots of power over me, increasing the power over me, is the right way to go about it. That just sounds like a terrible way to deal with anything.
I will take what he says and go one step further. I basically don't believe in climate change. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't invite me to the party. But let me just say this, that climate change is considered to be a green issue. But the truth is, increase in CO2 gases makes the planet greener.
Yeah.
So by cutting back on CO2...
How does it make the planet greener?
Because
plants eat it.
Plants eat it, and they export the oxygen that comes out of it. When there's more CO2, we have a greener planet.
Yeah.
So this, and I've never heard this mentioned, but
apart from if CO2 does interact with photons, trap heat into the planet, you increase temperature, you get rid of liquid phase water, then I guess the plants would die.
You're talking about... listen, I don't follow it that closely. But in the...
But we are seeing the greening of areas that were previously arid.
It's not just temporarily. It's a long-term thing. Higher CO2, when there were huge periods of huge CO2 back in the day, during the dinosaur period.
We're actually very, historically, we're at very low CO2 levels.
It's great for plants and bad for animals.
So CO2 is not a green issue.
The Sunday